Foundation Show, from experience to encounter.
In life, some people have been bent but not broken. Some are crushed but not defeated. That is what you're going to be seeing on World Foundation Show today. My name is Omolara Ayola, PMH, and you're welcome to World Foundation Show, where you get to give a voice to your testimony and you get to share your story from experience to encounter. My guest on the show today is someone that can be termed bent but not broken, crushed but not defeated. You want to know why? You just sit back and enjoy the show. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. You're still tuned in onto World Foundation Show. And if you're just joining us, I said earlier on that my guest in the house today is someone we can describe as bent but not broken, crushed but not defeated. I have my guest right here with me in the house. Please welcome with me, Ayo Phranks.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome on the show.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you.
Same here.
I've heard a lot about you and I'm so glad to meet you today.
I hope you heard good things.
Fantastic things, actually. And I'm sure that the viewers are going to hear many more things from you today. Okay, according to the little things I heard about your story, I know that it's a very touching one. And I'm sure that you're going to do us, that opportunity of hearing the details today. Okay, so what is your story?
Like she said, my name is Ayo Phranks. And I grew up on the mainland, what the former then Morocco, which is now, I think, Victoria annexed now. I attended Asarudin Primary School 1, and then I proceeded to Kuramo College, all on the island, the Bushiri, before we moved down to Zimbabwe. And now, I actually grew up not to know who my real parents were. Wow. And, well, the family I actually grew up to know, I accepted and all of that. And then, I loved this family. Real good. I think my story started at early mid-80s, can't remember now, but I think I was like 6, 7 when my story started. And then we were attending Deeper Life Bible Church, and the man I grew up to know as my father was working with Plateau State Liaison Office then. And he happened to be an house fellowship leader. We were living in a room apartment. We had a couch, and we had 2 beds and every other stuff. I had a bed to myself. When I realized, or when I came to know about my abuse was, at night, in the night, he would crawl into my bed and touch me, because I love sleep as a child.
A lot of children love to sleep, actually.
Yeah, I would sleep, and at a point, he started fingering me, but I never knew, I never knew what it was. As I was growing, I remember I used to be very vibrant. I was full of life. I was so playful, and at the same time, I was brilliant. And so, my abuse continued. He would crawl into my bed at night when I'm fast asleep. He would finger me. He would do all sorts and all that. He would do it in a way that I don't know. But I never knew what it was. I don't know it was bad. In those days,
no one to tell you if you're actually doing something bad.
Exactly. It wasn't like now you educate your child.
Yes.
You tell them you don't go close to this person. You don't allow this person to put you on your lap. You don't. A whole lot of things. Then you don't know. And those years. What a 5-year-old will do now, a 10-year-old couldn't do it back then.
Yeah.
And so it continued. Primary school to secondary school and all of that. I can't really say this was when he started penetration. I was not able to flaunt my virginity as a child, as a girl child, growing up. And I think I don't even know what it means to be a virgin. I just knew I was a child. I just knew I have a vagina, and I grew up in the midst of boys anyway, who were not even related to me in any way, you know. And I realized that I had interest in girls rather than boys. But I grew up in the midst of boys. I was doing everything the boys were doing, but I wasn't sleeping with a girl, you know. I said I do everything a boy does because I play football. You can't catch me playing tente. You never will. No. I was being forced to wear skirts. I never loved anything feminine. You can't catch me on a blouse. In fact, sometimes when I'm going to work, you see me buttoning my shirt and tucking in on the road. I don't, no, you know. And I was growing up like that a lot of my life. I was okay, I was fine. Until when Colonel Raji Rasaki demolished Morocco. And by that time, he was working with the American Embassy as one of their security personnel. So we had to move to Ikoyi, Queen's Drive, precisely. And we were given an apartment. And so I had to go to school from Queen's Drive. I had to cross the water to Uzumba Madue, Victoria Island. We were staying at Ikoyi. So while I was growing up, I realized that he was growing to, I don't know how to say that, but I think he was growing to be liking my body and wanting to do stuffs. Like, he was wanting to do experiment.
Wow.
With my body.
Like taking everything he's been doing with your body to another level.
Exactly. So at a point, we were in the house at night. We were actually watching a horror movie. All of a sudden I said, I just told everyone, I need to go and pee. So when I stood up, the house, you go out through the door and you turn this way to get to the toilet. So when I got to the toilet, I eased myself. So as I was trying to come out, I just came out and I saw someone by the door. And I stood still. I was just looking at him. The next thing I saw, he just stuck out his tongue and did it in a very funny but annoying way. When he did that, I just looked down and walked past him. I went in. You know, the floor was tiled, and I loved the coolness of the floor. So I went in, I laid down, after everybody must have gone to sleep. So he came in and said, why are you lying on the cold floor? I said, I like it. He said, you will catch pneumonia. I said, I like it. He said, I don't think you understand what pneumonia is. I said, I like that pneumonia. I want it. He said, okay. He left. You know, he was always trying to come to me at night to abuse me and all of that. So at a point, they had to move to the mainland. So when they moved, I actually moved with them initially. When we got to the mainland, they settled, and I had to go back to school. I was given a very small but comfortable room to me. The room was comfortable because it was just me, my clothes, my school bag, and all. You know, so I had to go back to the island. I was schooling, I was doing fine. So I thought, okay, I think I was doing well still. You know, he had to be coming to work from the mainland to Ikoyi. And sometimes when he comes like that at night, he comes and takes advantage of me when I am fast asleep. Because my door is not always locked. You know, and he would do it at a time nobody would see him. You know, he continued like that. He would finger me. Sometimes when he come in, he would do all sorts. And when I want to scream, he would tell me, if you scream, I will kill you. And as a child I don't know anything about, and I was scared of dying. I don't want to die, And when he's done, he will leave. I tell me, don't tell anybody. I'll keep quiet. So at a point, I fell sick. He was not on duty. I fell sick. No, before I fell sick, he came one night and I think he was knocking at my door. That day I just decided, let me lock this door. Anyhow, anyway, I'm going to lock this door. So when he came, he knocked. I didn't open. He called my name a few times. I didn't respond. I was just lying there. He knocked again and called my name. I said, let me in. I said, no. You are not coming in this night. If you want to kill me, in the morning, just kill me. Let me die. He got angry and walked away. I slept. Before I woke up to dress for school, he had gone. So he left. Later on, I fell sick. He was not around. I fell sick. I just started feeling feverish and I was just sitting outside. One of the domestic staff saw me and said, what is wrong with you? And I said, I don't know. I just know I'm not fine. And I was sitting under the sun. The man said, leave the sun. I said, no, sir. I'm actually enjoying the sun. So at the point, he forced me to leave the sun. I sat where he asked me to sit. He felt my temperature and said, you're sick. And I was shivering. So he gave me dagger. I know that time dagger is very bitter. And I hated drugs. Nothing. Oh no. I hated drugs. Even now, I still hate drugs. If I'm sick, just give me injection and I'll be fine. I hated drugs. So when he handed the dagger to me, I said, I can't take it, sir. The man said, just try. When I looked at the dagger, and I looked at, I'm with a bikini in me. He said, just try. He gave me food. I couldn't eat, but somehow I managed, and I took the dagger. I slept. So when he came, I think I was in my room. The man told him that I wasn't feeling well. So he said, okay, that he will take me to the mainland. If I knew that going to the mainland was going to be the beginning of my nightmares and my traumas, I would have insisted I die on the island. Because when I was taken to the mainland for treatment, I was treated. When I got home, I was told, they called in a family doctor. Then the man came, ran some tests and said I had pneumonia. Everybody was scared in the house. Pneumonia. And I can't talk to you like this. I have to hold my side and I'll bend to talk for you to hear. Even if you are close to entering my mouth, I'll have to bend for you to hear what I'm going to say. When everybody was scared in the house, Mommy was scared. She would be like, what are you going to eat? Because I wasn't eating. What will you eat? I'll tell her what I want to eat. She will go prepare the food. By the time the food is ready, I won't be able to eat. What caused that pneumonia was when I was on the island. There is this lady that sells cold drink very close to the house. I'll go meet her in the afternoon. I'll tell her, babe, when you are going, those block, keep them for me. Okay, so I'll go pick the block, chew in the middle of the night to keep me awake. So at a point, I fell sick and I was taken back to the mainland. If I had known that going to the mainland to join the whole family was going to be the beginning of my traumas and my nightmares, I would have stayed back. I would have refused bluntly to stay on the island. So after my treatment, after I got well, I went back to school. I don't know for how long, but at the point he told me, I don't have money for tea fare, for you to be going to the island and coming back and all of that. So I had to stay. I spent a whole year in the house, not going anywhere. But I think I remembered I worked with somebody as a sales girl, just not to be idle. And a few times I picked up books and I read. So eventually I was enrolled in a secondary school in Ojodo. So while in that secondary school, I met Mrs. Yemida Berry. I was doing well in that school. I also remembered my English teacher then, walking up to me, telling me he wanted a relationship with me. I looked at him and I said, sir, you are my teacher. Besides, you're married, and I can't possibly date you. You know, it went like that. So when my traumas actually began, nobody knew. In fact, Yemi, who was very close, never knew what was happening to me. At a point, I became withdrawn. I became so quiet. I became this girl that sometimes when you talk, I'll just be looking. But you never know, there are a whole lot going on
in the mind.
In my mind, in my head. So sometimes I dread the night. I don't even want the night time to come, because I know what was going to happen. Even though he had not had penetration then, I could remember the faces he makes at me. I could remember the advances. I could remember a whole lot. You know, the first time he had penetration, we were all sleeping. Everybody was sleeping, you know, and he just crawled up to where I was lying, and I just started feeling, and I was like, what is this? What is this? And I heard him telling me, keep quiet, don't say a word, and stuff. You know, when he was going to penetrate, it was painful, and I made to scream, and he held my mouth, so I couldn't shout. So when he was done, he left me there. I was in pains. I couldn't cry. In the morning, I couldn't talk to nobody. I was just there, and I was just managing myself, going to school, trying to concentrate on my studies, trying to get the pains and the pictures off my head.
And all the while, mother was
she
in
was
the
there.
room, even the night he penetrated.
She was there. She was there, you know, and it continued like that. Many times he would rape me, and you know, the people I saw like big brothers in the neighborhood, like as if there was a communication between him and them. I was just called upon one time like that. One of the guys I was looking up to as a big brother called me and asked me to run an errand for him. It was in the evening, and I said, okay, what do you want me to do for you? He said, go buy me this, and I went. By the time I came in, I was surprised. It never crossed my mind that something was going to happen. I just saw like 3 guys in the room. So I gave him, I was actually standing by the door. I stretched my hand. He said, come in. I said, no, I had to go back to the house because mother will be looking for me. He said, no, come in, you're safe. And I just went in. The moment I stepped into the room, one of the guys locked the door. And I was gang raped that night.
Wow.
By the time they were done, I managed to walk back to the house. So when I got back to the house, I just saw my mother in the passage. Where are you coming from? I said, I went to the toilet. She said, you liar, and all that. Before I knew what was happening, the cloth I was putting on, she just and tore my pants.
Well, she dipped her hand under your skirt
and pulled my pants and tore it. And I was embarrassed. I was like, you know, I didn't want to tell her what happened. The next thing I heard, she said, you know, the book, and all of that, and all of that. I was like, I didn't do anything. You know, I was just trying to.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I think I wasn't even 20 then. I think I was in my teenage years, you know. And it continued like that. So I remember one afternoon, I think that was the afternoon, he actually pinned me to the bed. I don't know where I was coming from. I can't remember what happened that day. I just knew I walked into the house, and the moment I entered, I saw his funny face. And by the time I saw that funny face, I knew something was going to happen. So I made to walk out of the door. Before I turned, he was already by the door. He just locked the door and said, if you love your life, don't shout. Just let me do what I want to do. And I was like, you can't possibly be doing this. But you called yourself my father. The next thing I knew, pushed me to the bed, pinned me and raped me that afternoon.
Can you remember what he used to pin you then?
I think he tied, if I remember vividly, I think he tied my hands to the bed. So I can't fight and stuff. And then, I can't even remember what he did to my legs. But I knew he raped me that afternoon. And when he was done, he smiled and told me every father does that to their daughters.
Wow.
And when he said that, I was like, so, Mr. Larry, why did he does that to his daughter, Kemi? Is that it? Is that what he's saying? Every father does this. I just walked away. I went to sit down and I was like, what kind of life is this? God, why? Why do a man I called father for so many years do this to me? You know, I couldn't get an answer. I couldn't even talk to mother about it. I couldn't tell anybody what was happening.
Were there other siblings in the house?
Of course. Of course. Of course they were. And so it continued like that and stuff. You know, we had a neighbor too who was macho, big. One afternoon too, he saw me, he called me and said, okay, I need you to help me get something. By the time I came in, I gave him. He just locked the door and I was like, is it that there is a communication between
all of
these people? What is the problem? And then he had me that afternoon. I never knew father knew what was happening. So by the time the guy was done, he just opened the door and said, get the hell out. And I turned and I looked at him. He just said, get out. He pushed me. So I stumbled out. And I saw my father. He now smiled at me very wickedly and said, what's wrong with this man? Have you not had enough? He said, what that guy did to you now, I want to have a taste of it. If you don't allow me, I will tell the whole neighbors that I'll be sleeping around with our neighbor. I said, God. I just gave him. And he had his way that afternoon. When he was done, he smiled at me. He said, don't ever tell anybody or else you die. You know, they are always coming up with this. If you tell anybody, you will die.
Okay, so all the while that he was threatening to tell the neighbors that you've been sleeping around with other men, it didn't occur to you that you could also expose him?
Not at all. Not at all. I never had a slight idea that I could expose him. Even if I had wanted to expose him, who do I tell? And who would believe?
That's another thing.
Everybody would like, it's a lie, you're lying and stuff. And I never had, the thing is, I never had a good relationship with both of them. I was not close to any of them. But I just loved him, you know, because he was brilliant. I was looking up to him as a father, like someone who would protect me. But reverse was the case.
Especially if they had punished you a few times and even neighbors feel that you are the bad child.
Exactly. You know, I was not even close to both of them to start with. I wasn't close to mother. She was short-tempered. I wasn't close to her and all of that. I was just me, you know. And it never even occurred to me to say anything to anybody. Because at the point I was like, who do I tell that my father was sleeping with me? Who would believe me? How do I cope? If they send me out of the house, where do I go? You know? But the day mother found out, oh my goodness. I don't even know what happened. And she knew. So she was going to scream. I remember she just woke up and then found him on top of me. And she was like, what? What is this? Abomination and all of that and that. So when he stood up, she was going to shout. It was in the middle of the night. He said, no, please don't shout. Don't let the whole neighborhood know what is happening. Please. And then she looked at me and said, you this olori buruku konidafwe onishorire. So you have been sleeping with your father.
Turned it on you.
And I was like, how is it my fault? What have I done? And she was saying all stuffs. And then the next thing I heard on my face was a heavy slap. Pow! All of that. And I was just looking. I couldn't sleep. Both of them went to bed. I don't know if they were able to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. After she found out, I couldn't just sleep because I was now wondering. This man had done a whole damage to me. Now his wife has found out, and where do I go? In the morning, he went to work, and I think she told me to take lunch. He had stopped working with the U.S. Embassy. So I took lunch and went, while she was preparing the lunch, she now brought up the topic and she was like, your father was sleeping with you and you couldn't tell me, you couldn't talk, you didn't say anything and all that. I said, he said I should not talk. And she was like, you are stupid. Why can't you talk? And stuff. She was just saying all manner of things. And by the time she was done, I took the food to him. It was not easy for me to locate where he was working. But eventually I took the food to him. And I went back home. I lost concentration in class. All of a sudden, I just realized that when my teacher was teaching, I would be in class, and the next thing, I wasn't there again. I'll be looking at my teacher, but I won't hear what he or she is saying. I was just there, and at a point, I realized my grades, everything started dropping.
Okay, so I heard about a pregnancy. What led to that pregnancy? At what point did you get pregnant?
Okay. I got pregnant when I got involved with a man I thought, of course I didn't know what love was, but I felt I loved the guy. I just liked him and I felt, okay, this was love. And I got involved. Both of us got involved. I think I felt my body has been trained to have sex.
Yeah.
I don't walk on the street and I see a guy who tells me, oh, I like you. The next thing in my mind will be sex. I don't see a guy that touches me. The next thing on my mind is sex. I don't see a guy who tells me, oh, I like your body structure. The next thing on my mind is sex.
So any nice person just tells you sex.
Anything sex. I just felt I liked this guy. And that was all. I slept with him. And I realized I missed my period. The next thing, I got pregnant. And I didn't tell anybody. They don't even know the father of my first child till they died. Because I didn't tell them. And I had to carry the pregnancy. I was in their house. I went through hell. At a point...
Who died? The two parents?
The two parents.
Wow.
At a point, I just woke up one day and, I picked a few of my things. Then I got a job with a poultry job. I got a poultry job. I was attending to pigs. I just picked a few of my things. Mother was not around. I picked a few of my things, and I told him. I said, well, I'm going to work. I might not come back. And he looked at me and said, where would you be going? I said, wherever, anywhere. But if you don't see me, don't find me. Of course, he knew where I was working. So I said, if you don't see me, don't look for me. He said, okay, what if your mother comes back? What should I tell her? I left the house. I'm no longer wanted in this house, so I'm gone. He said, no. I said, tell her I'll be washing in my place of work and I'll be coming late. I picked a few of my things. Actually, I was going to leave the house. I big fear. I think I was 8 months gone or so. My friends,
And she didn't know still.
She knew I got pregnant.
Okay.
You know, the day she knew father was sleeping with me, she screamed and all of that, and all the drama, I begged her not to make noise. And so the next morning, 2 days, 3 days interval, I think, I was just going to fetch water, and I met somebody I knew from Kuramo College. The elder brother attended Methodist Boys High. Myself and the lady went to Kuramo College. I just met her with some of her family members and a friend of hers. And I was going to say, blessing, hey, how you doing? The next thing, she just turned and looked at me and said, you your papa. Gosh. I just stood there. And I was looking at them. And I felt the ground should open and swallow me on the spot. I was surprised. How this girl take me waiting they happen?
Okay, so in all of these experiences, how did you encounter Christ?
Okay. Well, we were attending Deeper Life at the time all of this were happening.
And your parents who were Deeper Lifers?
Yes. When they got to know I was pregnant, and when they got to know he was sleeping with me, both of us were excommunicated from the church. So somehow, a friend of mine invited me to church, RCCG, and I attended. When I attended, I think that was January 11 or something, 2008, if I'm correct now. I went, and it was difficult for me initially, because at a point I was like, God, can you ever accept somebody who had been messed up like me? Someone who had gone through a lot, and someone who is not even ready to forgive the person who had killed me times over and over before I die. Can you accept someone like me who has a lot of bitterness against somebody? Can you ever look at me and say, this is my daughter? Can you say, oh, I'm proud of you? And a whole lot was going in my mind, and I was like, how was I going to walk up to God and tell him, you are my father, heal me, and all of that? But somehow, I don't know how it happened. I just knew that I was able to talk to him, and somehow I think he listened to me.
He does, always.
And I don't know if he's still interested in me, because at a point I got really angry.
Oh, angry with God.
Angry with God. I got born again. I was going to redeem. I became the parish drummer with my little baby. In fact, the day I had my first child, I went through hell, let me not lie. At a point I was sleeping in the passage with my child.
Okay, so from the time you gave your life to Christ, how easy was it to move on with life?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It was very difficult. Because, like we were taught, sanctification does not come the moment you get born again. Sanctification is a gradual process. When I got born again, and I was still staying in the same house with him, and I'll be looking at, this is the man who
messed me up.
God. And I was asked to forgive. Can I ever forgive this man? Well, maybe in the next life. I was trying to pick the pieces. I couldn't go back to school anyway. When I was in school, at the point, I think I lost it. Because everybody stayed away from me, especially Yemi Dabiri. Because we were close. At the point, she stayed away. Because she was like, what's wrong with this girl? Why is she behaving weird? Why is she acting like, She stayed away, and I was not bothered. You know, when I got born again, I was trying to pick the pieces of my life back, see what I can do with my life. It wasn't easy for me. At the point, one of the parishes where I was, in fact, my first parish in Redeem, I spoke to my pastor. I told him, "Sir, I wanted to go back to school," because he was working with WAEC then. And I saw that as a very big opportunity to go back to school. He kept postponing, kept telling me, "Okay, we'll talk about it, until at the point I said, it's like I'm bothering this man, so let me just stay. You know, I went in my second parish in Redeem. My pastor saw something I was doing. I do handmade cards, and she looked at me and said, "You are gifted. Why don't you go for this training?" I said, "Ma, no. This is one of the things I just like doing. I want to learn how to operate the camera." She said, "No, go learn screen printing." I said, "Okay. I don't have a mother. You're old enough to be my mother. If not old enough, you're a big aunt to me." Initially they paid for me to learn how to operate the computer. I went to a computer school. I did all of that. I felt sick. I couldn't complete my course, but I can operate the computer. I went in to learn screen printing. When I was done, I showed them my certificate. I said, screen printing. This is my certificate. It's in the house. I'm not using it.
Wow.
So an opportunity came up.
So your certificate is still in the house?
It's still in the house.
Are you planning to use it?
I don't screen print. I worked when I was expecting my second child, because I actually met the father of my second child way back. You know, we lost contact and all that. And then I met again when I was coming home from Holy Ghost service. And somehow, I think my second son was planned. I planned my second son. My second child anyway. I said, I just saw his father and I, sweet talk and all of that, nothing. And I said, okay, I want to have another child. And God, if it's a sin, forgive me. But I want to have another child. And please let it be a boy. And he granted my request. And he was a boy. He's a boy.
It wasn't like you got married to him.
No. There was nothing like marriage and that. So, in fact, when I got pregnant of the boy, a lot of things happened. We could not communicate. My phone spoiled. He wasn't around. And eventually, the day I told him, he was mad. And
was he married then?
He wasn't. Okay. But I think he is now. I don't know. So when my son came, I saw the boy. I loved him with the whole of my heart. And all of the names I gave him were dropped in my spirit. So I learned screen printing. When I was done, I showed them my certificate. I dropped the certificate. So an opportunity just came up and somebody said, "I know you love this." She gave me I just looked at the flyer and I said, wow. I went in to learn how to operate the camera. I was just taught the basic things and all of that. Video that I'm doing now, I learned how to operate the video and do video on my own. I'm still learning anyway. I was able to operate the camera. Initially, I take pictures and then I just felt, okay, the media department, they are not much. Let me switch department because I play the saxophone. So when I walked up to my pastor's wife, she said, okay, you can switch departments. When the choir is done, just move over.
Go back to...
I said, okay. That was how I started handling the camera, doing video for the church and all that. I don't get paid anyway, but I have joy doing it. I'm fine. I'm okay. So the point where I started getting sanity and I started finding my life was after so many years, after I had my son, after so many years, somehow, myself and Yemi, we just met. And we got talking. It was in the evening. We talked into like 8, 9 thereabout. And I was telling her things. I think she saw that I was bitter that night. I didn't even tell her everything. I just told her, my father destroyed me. If you know what that man did to, and I was close to tears. She just said, Ayo, don't worry. You come and share your story. She gave me that platform. And when I went in, when I first shared my story in that program, at a point I realized that the whole hall was tensed. And I saw her crying. And I was going to call her husband to come, please, take your wife away. I was sharing the story. It was like I was just telling a normal story. And everybody was like, it was later she told me, hey, girl, Everybody was like, so you've been going through all of this and nobody knew? Oh no, you can't be strong. You know, and that was how I started getting my sanity. I started becoming myself. If you see me before, you wouldn't want to talk to me. You wouldn't want to talk to me. I was looking so shabby. I was looking so unkempt. Sometimes when I walk and you call me, I'll just, and it just and I'll keep walking. That was the point where after the storytelling, that was where I started getting my life. So after the first program where I first shared my story, Yemi Dabiri introduced me to some people, and I met some survivors who are doing very well. One of them is Mrs. Antonia Ojenagbo. That woman is out of this world. She organized a program for survivors. We went. I think the first time I went for that program, I shared a little of my story. And I think the second time I went, I shared my story. She was not around. And then while I was sharing my story, I was just summarizing. And somebody started crying. And I was like, summary Malele, why are you crying? If you now hear the full story, what will you do? And she stood up and hugged me and said, I'm sorry, Ayo, I'm sorry for what you went through. And I was in my mind, I was like, you wash up, And from that time, I've been healing. I'm work in progress. But I think I'm better than what I used to be. 5 years ago, before my abuser died, I had looked at him. One day, he was carrying one of his grandchildren, and I looked at him, and I said, oh God, I wish I had a gun. I would have killed you before you die. There was a time I boldly challenged him. He said something to me, and I told him, your head not correct. I told him to his face, I said, your head not correct. And I walked away. He was just looking at me, So 5 years ago when he died, they broke the news, and I was like,
and so, like...
And so when my daughter heard it, she was like, Mommy, what is that? I said, they said your grandfather has died. She said, oh, my grandfather. I said, will you shut your mouth? Emma Sokunle Temio. And she was like, you didn't see. I said, but he saw you. So don't cry in my house. One of his children was staying with me, fainted. And all of that. When he was buried.
Because the bitterness was still there all the while.
When he was sick, I was called upon. Like God arranged it. I was broke. I had no money. Because I remember twice consecutively I was working. I sent him money twice. And I was sacked. The first time I sent him money, I remember I took my tithe because I got to know about tithing, and I was like, I would do tithing. Let me see if God will change my life. And if he decides not to do anything for me, I will still try and follow.
So do you think he has changed your life up till now?
In ways I can't explain.
Wow, that's amazing.
My being alive today, I owe it to him. Because mother said a whole lot of horrible things to me before she died.
Even verbal abuse was part of the whole thing.
Because when I look at things that happened to me after the abuse, before she died and all of that, I have every reason to thank God. I've had since she told me, if I die, I will come and take you. And I told her, now me won't kill you. You can't come and take me. And I remembered immediately she died. The first son, a year after the boy died.
Their own first son?
Yeah. Died in an accident.
Wow.
Like that, I had series of accidents that could have claimed lives. And here I am. Do I not have every reason to thank God?
Sure you do.
So, my advice to people who are going through abuse, it may not be easy for you to forgive your abuser. Only God knows. It took me like 20-something years of my life You know, I think 20 something or 30 something years of my life was taken from me, and it took me a whole lot. And it wasn't easy for me to forgive him, but I thank God that eventually I was able to forgive him. And things I couldn't do, I just realized that I could do them. You know, my advice to people who are going through abuse, it may not be easy, but eventually you will scale through with the help of God. If God can help a broken Ayo, in fact a bent Ayo, to be straightened, he can do much more for you. He still hears her. I remember when I told God, stay in heaven, rule your kingdom, let me stay here. And I made an article. I know I can't sing now after I've done the song. And here I am. He's faithful. He's loving. He has not forgotten me. And he has not. I want to tell you that no matter what you're going through, I know God is there. He's always right beside us. When you call him in the sincerity of your heart, he will answer.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you very much. And to all our viewers, that was a story. That was a story. And I'm sure that everything she said, you understood. There is nothing you are going through in life that God cannot save you from. Everything you have been through, somebody had gone through it. You might not have even met the person yet. And everything that you're struggling with, someone had come out of it. Thank you very much for coming on this show.
Pleasure, ma'am.
We'll be right back.
Wall Foundation Show, from experience to encounter.
Okay. On behalf of Wall Foundation Show, we have this for you. Thank you for coming on the show. And then we are saying, thank you.
I like it. I like it.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. All right, to all our viewers at home, this is where we come to the end of this episode. Remember, if you have a story to tell us on this show, feel free to contact us on our numbers on your screen, and also you can send us an email on our email on your screen. And you can also check us out on our social media platforms, Wall Foundation on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. Check out our partners page. You want to partner with us to keep this show going, or you want to sponsor a part of this show, we'll be glad to hear from you. Till we come your way again next time, have a beautiful time. Remember, your purpose is in your pain. Bye-bye.